Okay, so last time on the channel we were taking a look at the Fractal Design Node 202 that the good people over at Fractal Design were good enough to send over. This particular variant does have the 450 watt power supply, but do know if you're just watching this video that that is not included with all the Node 202s. You can buy a version without the power supply, costs a little bit less than the one with the power supply, but you will have to furnish your own SFX PSU in that case. So today what we're going to do is we're going to transition the hardware that's sitting behind me from my living room PC into this computer, and that is a Ryzen 1600. Obviously we'll need a different motherboard, but then also a GTX 1070 will be fitting into this tiny chassis to give us a very powerful, very small form factor desktop PC. So let's go ahead and hop right into that. Okay, so as you can see, this computer is fully put together now. You may have seen me messing a lot with the SSD caddy here. So at one point, I was trying to route the cables this direction and have the SATA ports on the drives coming out over here, because there is a little gap over here on this rail that you can fit cables through that way. But I found that that wasn't really feasible with the thickness of the SATA power cable especially. So if you look in here, the SATA data cable is on top on this left drive, whereas the SATA power is on top on the right drive. And that means the plug is inverted from drive to drive. So instead of flipping this second plug around, the two SATA power plugs are actually facing the same direction out of the power supply itself. So that requires you to manipulate the cables a lot to get those to fit in there and to be able to connect to the two drives. Now there is enough space in there to do that, but it would have been a lot simpler had they just made this second plug over here inverted, and that would just allow you to plug that one in normally and then flip it over here through this gap in this rail and then plug it directly into the second drive. Instead, both plugs are facing the same direction, which requires you to really bind up the cable to get it to work in there. It is possible. It's just a minor complaint, and it would have made my life a lot easier as a system builder had they done that. So one of the legitimately nice touches with this case is this little graphics card support bracket right here, which does have a little bit of rubber on this side, and that's just to keep the graphics card from sagging down on this end. I was hoping to avoid even taking the bottom plastic off of this case altogether, but to adjust this, which it does move in or back out depending on the width of your graphics card, but to adjust that, there are two screws on the bottom of it which feed through the bottom of the case, and that does require you to take off this plastic bottom if you are wanting or needing to adjust that bracket. The bracket itself is a great touch. I just wish that it had a little bit of an easier mechanism for adjusting it. However, I do understand that the simple engineering of it would be to just do exactly what they did with two screws on the bottom, and that works reasonably well, especially once you get a set. You don't really have to deal with it anymore. Okay, so let's do a quick overview of the hardware inside of the Fractal Design Node 202 here. We have an included 450 watt power supply powering everything, For storage, we have a pair of 240 gigabyte SSDs. These are just SATA 3 drives. They're basic, run-of-the-mill, almost commodity class SSDs. Absolutely nothing special here. I believe one's a SanDisk Ultra and the other's like an ADATA SP550 or something like that. But two of those for a grand total of 480 gigabytes of storage. However, I have played with the idea of replacing one of these with a 1 terabyte hard drive for a laptop so that I would have a little bit more overall storage for maybe games that I don't play all the time, but games I would like access to from time to time. For our graphics card solution, we have a GTX 1070 from EVGA. This does use the reference PCB with one 8-pin power plug, so we do keep power under control a little bit more than something like a 1080 or 1080 Ti might, but we still do get a lot of horsepower out of this particular card. For RAM, we have two 8GB sticks of Corsair LPX. This is running at 2400 right now. I haven't played with it a whole lot, but the kit is a 3000 megahertz kit, so we'll sort of see how well the 1600 and the BioStar motherboard can handle that and see what kind of RAM speeds we can get. I haven't done that yet, however, that will be coming in the performance review of this particular PC build. The cooler is a Cryorig C7, and the reason I'm using this cooler is it's just super low profile. And under that cooler, we have the heart of the build, the Ryzen 5 1600, currently running at 3.5 gigahertz. However, again, I'm going to see just how far I can push that, or if I can push that a little bit more. I believe with this case, though, the thermals are going to be the biggest limiting factor for pushing this processor, because I do know that this processor on water can hit 3.95 gigahertz. So I guarantee we're going to be heat limited on pushing that overclock. I'm still hoping to get something a little bit higher than 3.5, but we'll see with the performance review altogether. So that pretty much wraps up the build part of this PC. Obviously, there's a lot of power in this thing with the Ryzen 5 1600, 6 cores and 12 threads on top of a GTX 1070, which will give us great gaming performance. So next up, obviously, will also be the gaming benchmarks for this system. And let me know in the comments down below if there are specific games that you would like me to benchmark with this system. Also, a big shout out goes to Fractal Design for providing the Node 202 along with the 450 watt power supply. That helped out a lot for this build. And to that end, if you are interested in actually purchasing the Node 202 for yourself, I will leave a link in the description down below to go and buy that. It's especially great for those of you that are looking for a mini ITX chassis that gives you a little bit of a console aesthetic, but not really overly flashy, and more importantly, fits in well with most living room entertainment centers. And as always, of course, if you like it below, subscribe, share, comment. All those things are extremely helpful to the channel. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. They're the same tag for your convenience. And we'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel over here. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I will see you guys in the next video.